Hello guys, welcome to the new video of this Linux playlist training. So in this video we're gonna discuss about the standard input, standard output and about the output redirection. So let me give you the agenda for this video. First is standard input. Second, we need to discuss about standard output. Third is standard error also is there. And at the last we're gonna discuss how we can um redirect. What redirect? Redirect the standard input and standard output. How we gonna do this thing? So let me uh, tell you about what is first the standard output means. So standard output means the keyboard is to be considered as the standard input. Why I'm saying this? The keyboard is considered as standard input because if some program needs the input, like any program or any applications needs the input, then we can enter the input using the keyboard. For an example, if you are writing a mail, then to write a mail in the subject and in the description box, you are using your keyboard to write a content. In the program, if like you are using the command called make directory, so you all know in the front of make directory we need to give the folder name. So that particular folder name, we are passing the name from the keyboard, and everything wherever required, every program or every application, every program file, if somewhere the input is required, that particular input we are passing using a keyboard. So that's why it's if like why standard, because if someone keep on using the same thing for one use, like if you are aware of some tool in the containerization world, or like I say like if someone is using something for something like um, to do to do work A. Okay, let me explain you in this way. So to do work A, there are three ways, maybe way one or way two or like way three. And by using all of these ways, the target is to achieve this particular work. But way one is you can say only 10% of the people is using way one. Way three, only 20% of the person is using. Way two, 70% of the person are using way two. So slowly, that way two will become standard in the market to do the work A. In same way, if there is some task or something you need to achieve, for example, you need to use some virtualization tool. Then for virtualization tool, there are many options, but one of the option is Oracle VirtualBox that we are using for our this training. So most of the people in the world is keep on using this Oracle VirtualBox, so that's why it's become a standard tool for the virtualization technology. In the same way, we can give input with multiple ways, but normally if some program or some application require input, normally we give that input with a keyboard, and that's why that keyboard is known as standard input. Another thing is like standard output. So normally on the monitor or on the screen, or I can say on the terminal, we got the output. So we like you are running command called ls-l, or you are running command called cal, you are running command called date. So output of all of this is coming to the console or terminal. We can redirect this output to somewhere else also. For an example, you can save the output of this cal command in some file also. You can save the or mail the output of this cal command to someone. You can mail also. Many ways are there, but normally every command or every program is giving output on with a console or terminal. That's why the console or terminal is known as standard output. What I mean by is, let me explain you. So if you write cal command, so that command, cal command, the output is giving on this particular terminal or screen. It is not giving any output to some on some mail or like saving some output on some file. It's giving output on this particular screen or terminal. That's why the terminal or screen is known as standard output. Same way, we are creating directory with a name called ss. So that particular ss here we are giving with the help of our keyboard. And there are many ways we can take this output or like input from some another file. We can take this input from some another file. We can take this input from some another program. So there are ways in Linux using pipe. If you do like this, if I do ls, so there is no ss directory. So what you can do, echo ss, so that ss is printed, and there is many ways uh, in the Linux that you can pass the output of one command to another. So there are many ways, or you can take this ss from some file also. But what you are doing is you are giving this ss to this particular command, that is mkdir, using your keyboard. So that's why normally in 90% of the program or application we give the output from keyboard. That's why it's known as standard input. So now ss is created. But now what the topic of today's is, we want the input and output redirection. Now what does it means? First you need to understand the meaning of redirection. Redirection means direct from some other thing, not from the standard thing. So let's say first we need to discuss output redirection. So output redirection means is I don't want my output on the console, I don't want my output on the terminal, not on the screen. I want to redirect my output from the not on the console or terminal. I want to redirect my output on some file. Or there is another way also, like you want to redirect your output to some other location. But for our example, we are using file. So we want when we run the command cal or ls-l, this two command will not show the output on screen, not on the terminal. This output will be redirected of those command to some file, and using, if we read that file, we can able to see the output. So that is the meaning of output redirection, means redirecting or directing the output from way 1 to way 2. Now way 1 here is screen or console. Way 2 here in our case is file. So we are redirecting the output of the particular command from way 1 to way 2. That means from screen to some file or some another location you can pass. So in the same way, the input redirection means you don't want your input from standard input, that is a keyboard. Now let's say you want to create some file. Let's say you want to create some file with a content called date. The file name you want to create is test. So how you can create? So there are many ways in Linux you can create file. One of the way that we're gonna discuss in future is touch. Touch, then you can give the file name. Second way is using the VI or like nano tool editors you can create. Third way is another with a cat only. So in the last video we discussed 3 to 4 features of cat, but one of the feature of cat is also creating a file. So before the input redirection, we will see how we can create a file using cat command. So there are many ways, but in all of the ways, like in the front of touch, you are giving this date, and this date you are giving with your keyboard. That is the main thing. So you are giving this particular date string, or like any one you want to create file, and you are giving this particular input using your keyboard. That means using your standard input. We don't want that. In other ways, like if you want to do something, you are giving your input from the standard input, that is keyboard. So what is the meaning of input redirection is, so we want to redirect our input from keyboard to some other location. From keyboard to some other location. Now we don't want that keyboard will give the input for the commands. That is the meaning of input redirection. We want to redirect our input. Now we want to redirect from input. In our demo, what we're gonna do is, instead of keyboard, there is one file, let's say test, that contains the date. So that file is already created with this content. Now I want to create another file with test new. And to create this file, I'm using a cat command. How we can use cat command to create file, that we will see. But with the cat command, I want to create this new file. And in this new file, I want the content called date. So that date, I want the content. But to create this new file, there is one option that is like touch, and then we need to give the name test new. But here the test new we are giving from our keyboard, that we don't want because it's a standard input. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna leverage the input redirection symbol in Linux to redirect our input from some file, and using that input redirection it will create a new file for us. But the input is gonna take from file in our case. So the input or the file name, I will say, the input for the file name or the input will gonna come from some file itself, not from the keyboard. That's what I want to say. Now there are four symbols you need to mainly know. That is this, greater than, and less than. It's output redirection symbol. Same, this is output redirection symbol, but one change is there, it will append the things. What I will explain you. And this is input redirection. Same, this is input redirection. So now let's go to the demo and show you the things. So if you write the command called cal, so what cal will do is it will show the output on the screen or this console, that is the standard output. But you want to redirect your output to some file. Let me show you. I am creating op.txt. So this file is not there. I just want to show you. No such file in directory. Now you want to redirect the output of this cal command to this op.txt. Now what this greater than symbol will do is, it will do two things. It will redirect the output first. Second thing is, it will check the right argument. So this is a command. The output of this command will be sent to this using this. So this is the option that is gonna help us. So with this option, we are directing our output. That means the output of one thing we are passing to some file, or we are redirecting to some file. So this symbol is doing output redirection. That is one thing. And the right argument, it will check that we are giving some file name. So if this file already exists, it will overwrite the content of this file. If this file doesn't exist, that is case 2. If this file doesn't exist, it will create a new file for us. So this is a trick to create a new file. Using this symbol, we can create new file if that file don't exist. So let me show you. I just already show you in the terminal. This file don't exist. As soon as I do enter, now if I do cat op.txt, see this output will come from cal command and will be redirected to the op.txt. Now what if I will do date and op.txt? As I told you, if this file don't exist, it will create, but if this file exists, it will override the content of that particular file. Now if I do cat op.txt, see before there is a output of cal, now there is output of date, but that's not right. We don't want that. But this is how this feature is created or generated, or I say this is how it will work in the Linux. So if file not exist, it will create the file. But if file exists already, and if you run some another command, or if you redirect output of some another command that's not there in this, or like it's already there, but even though if this file is there and if you use the symbol, it will overwrite the content of that file. So we don't want that. That's why this double greater than symbol is there. So what this double greater than symbol will do is, if file, I can say file not exist, same thing it will do. It will create. But if file is already exist and some content is there in that file, so it will not overwrite. It will append the content. That's what I want to do. I want to show you. Let's say, so this is, I am seeing, let's say this file is not there, I know, and just for a proof I'm showing you this file is not there. Now if I will do cal command again with the double greater than sign instead of single greater than sign, and I will do double.txt. So as I already showed you, this file is not there. So this double greater than symbol sign will create a file first and will store the output of cal. See, store the output of cal. Now what is happening with the single greater than sign is, if you write the date and if you use single greater than sign instead of double with the same file, so with the single greater than symbol, what happen is, if this file already exists, it will override the content as I showed you. But if you use double greater than sign, it will append the output of date command also. See, in the down, it's appending instead of overwriting. So that is a use of this greater than sign and double greater than sign. Now let me show you the input redirection. So for cat command, I already told the exit use, like what is the exact use of the cat command. So whatever we write, it will just print as it is. See, what I'm writing, it's printing as it is. But what is the difference here is, I am giving this input to the cat command with the use of my keyboard, that is called standard input. I am not using any file or any other way to give the input. But let's say there is one file, so we can create file with the cat also. So now let's say I'm creating a file called command.txt with the cat command, and I'm writing, let's say, date here. And to save this file, you need to do Control D. So as soon as you do Control D, this command.txt will create it because of this greater than sign symbol, and this file is not there, so it, this greater than sign symbol created its file and stored the content whatever we given to that cat command. So it like redirected the output to this command.txt instead of like showing it again as it is, or instead of printing it again as it is redirected to the command.txt. Now in cat, whatever we are writing, it's showing as it is. That is standard input we are giving. Using the standard input, we are giving the value. But now I am redirecting the input with less than sign, and I am giving this file name. So now this get command will take the input not from the keyboard, not from the standard input. It will take the input from this command.txt file, and what is there in command.txt is the content called date. And you know already the use of get command. Whatever input it will get, it will show you as it is. See, now I don't given anything, I don't type anything like date on using my keyboard. It's just took this input from this file command.txt. And why it got took from command.txt? Because of this sign, that is a less than sign. This less than sign is known as a input redirection symbol. That means we are redirecting the input from some file or some another way, using some another way, but we are not giving the input using our keyboard. So that's why it's in redirecting the input. Now let's say if I show you ff, no file is there. See, now I want to save the content of this command.txt inside a ff file. So one way I have is this redirection symbol ff. So this greater than sign is an output redirector. That means it will not give the output on this console or screen, it will redirect it to this ff, but it will redirect the output. So I am giving input now from my keyboard. This is the input I given using the keyboard. And if I don't use that particular greater than sign or redirection symbol, output redirection symbol, as you all know, if I don't give that particular symbol, it will print this line or this string as it is. But as I given this particular sign or particular output redirection symbol, this will not print. Instead of it, it will redirect to that particular FF file. Now if I do Control D, see, it don't got printed even though it's in the FF directory. Same thing if I create this FFF without that particular, or I can say if I directly write cat without output redirection symbol and same line I am typing, this is my keyboard. Now it will not redirect because we don't use output redirector. We don't use the output redirection symbol. See, it is showing us on the screen. So that is how input redirection works. But let's say I want to create one file with some name called TT. It's not there. And I don't want my input to be also from keyboard. So in this case, in this cat ff, so in the ff it's storing this is my keyboard, but the input that we are giving is using the keyboard. So here we are giving the input from keyboard. Now I don't want to give my input from keyboard. I want to take the input from some file. So we have already one file, this file. So I want cat will take this input from this, sorry, from this particular command.txt file. It will not take the input from the keyboard. That's what I want. How we can do is, so just use input redirection symbol. So this will print, and we are not giving this date with our keyboard. Still though it's printing because it's getting input from this command.txt. If I want to save to this some file tt, here we got the error from tt that no such file or directory, but if we do now the tt, it will show the content of this command.txt file. That means, just a second, that means creating file with content tt, with the content I can write like date. So that date will go to the tt. So there is one way to create tt file with this content date, but in this case we are giving this particular input with our keyboard. But now I don't want to give this particular input from our keyboard. I just want to take it from some file. So that's what we are doing. How we are doing is some file. In this file, date content is already there. I want to date content will go to this TT. But this date, it's not given by keyboard. It's not given by keyboard. It's given by this file. And by this symbol, the input is getting redirected. Input is getting redirected means we are not giving the input by keyboard. We are giving the input with this particular file by this symbol. That is the less than symbol. So cat will take the input from this file, and cat will take the input from this file, and the content that it will take as input is date. So the output of this cat file, in this file date is there, so output of this is date. Now once we got the date, by using this greater than symbol sign, we are redirecting to this particular td file. So this output will go to this td directory. So that means using this, in this file there is a data content. Using this is just equal to using this, but in this case we are redirecting the output, not redirecting the input. That means we are redirecting the output even though we need to give the input. So we are giving input date using our keyboard, and in this input we are using keyboard, that is standard input, and that particular input is going to this file. So means we are giving input but the output is getting redirected. In this command file, we are redirecting the, sorry, here we are redirecting the output because we are giving input with keyboard. We are redirecting the output to the TT file. Here we are redirecting the input using this less than sign, and the input is coming from this file. Whatever the content is there in this file, it will show those content on the screen. In our case, the content is date, but we are not giving any input with our keyboard. And the use case of cat, you already know, whatever the input cat will get, it will print as it is. So that is a proof that there is some content in file and that content is date. That's why it's printing, because whatever content cat will get, it will print. And also there is a proof that we are not passing any input with our keyboard. So that means the input is getting redirected using less than sign. And in the above video, this we done both the thing. What both the thing? With this particular line, we redirected the input. So we got the output on screen, but the input is getting redirected. So we got the output from this particular block, but input we have got from this file. And with this big block, we are redirecting output. That means output is getting saved to this file tt. It's not showing on the screen. It's saved on this file called tt. That means the output is redirecting. So with this command, we redirected both the input also and output also. So in the summary, I want to give you, if you want to redirect your input, that means you don't want to give your input from keyboard, that is standard input, you can use this two symbol. So this two symbol enable you that it will not open a keyboard. It will not open a keyboard for a standard input. It will not open a keyboard for input. So by these two symbols, we can change the input way, or we can say we can redirect the input. Redirect the input instead of keyboard, we can use some different way of giving the input. Here in our case, we are using file. And these two options, greater than, these two can be used for output redirection. And the standard output is terminal or maybe screen. So we are redirecting the output. That means we are not showing the output on the console, terminal, or the screen, or this big monitor. We are redirecting that particular output to some different way, or like some different option. In our case, that is a file, that can be email also. So that's why we are using this output redirection symbol. That means we are not passing, or we are not showing our output on screen, we are passing to some file or some different thing. So that's all about this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask me your doubts over LinkedIn also, or you can post your comments, whatever the feasible for you. I will be happy to help you.